tariffs are not good, yeah, and I think that they can be the way in which I think we should be dealing with tariffs, using the effort and energy that's currently being used to discuss tariffs, should be going into negotiating free trade agreements. We've got we've just had the reopening of the free trade agreements with between the United Kingdom and India that happened a couple of weeks ago. We've got a continued discussion in relation to the free trade agreement between the United Kingdom and the United States. That's where the effort and energy should lie, and I just sort of sense some of the discussions going on in relation to tariffs are not particularly helpful.
What I haven't asked yet, and I think you might be the perfect person for this, if tariffs extend from products to services, then that could be diabolical for the UK, right? I mean, we haven't seen it yet. If you think about the narrative out of the US-European conversation, the Europeans are saying, well, perhaps we start to look at digital services, but that would provoke a whole new game where we've been really focused on things that you can touch and feel. If it were services, UK would not stand a chance, right?
No. Well, I think certainly in relation to UK-US, we do not have vast trade surpluses with the United States. So I do sense that we are not in the sort of the absolute front line when it comes to having tariffs laid upon us. And so therefore I think that it's again I think that really let's push on the free trade agreement and sort of side. That's the way forward. That's where we get the real opportunity.
Just a final one, like capital markets in the UK. Do you want to talk about some of the changes still required? Because we just had an entrepreneur on recently, earlier in the show, and there's been a lot of criticism in circles that there isn't the right framework if you're growing a business here, that effectively as soon as you list, you've handed over control, you've handed over the keys. And we saw that over the delivery listing. Fund managers were not that keen to get involved with what may be Shein coming as well. What needs to change in the city to attract entrepreneurs and founders to grow businesses here?
I think the United Kingdom has a very attractive tax regime in relation to start-up businesses. The Enterprise Investment Scheme is a very admired program around the world, but that's really for very sort of small businesses, for start-ups. Where we really have a problem is to scale up businesses. Something I've been doing during the course of my period as Lord Mayor, we're doing a series of scale-up capital events where we're getting some of the absolute best tech businesses in the United Kingdom to come and present to 240 British investors, and effectively trying to get British investors to invest in that area where companies are trying to raise between £5 and £30 million. And I think if we can get those funded by British investors, those funding rounds funded by British investors, the opportunity for those businesses then to scale and grow in the United Kingdom and then to float in London. That's so much more assured if you've got a whole series of British investors there rather than from investors from overseas.